Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Pointless Top 10, a show where we make top 10 lists out of pointless things. Why are we flying by a pointless statue in Booty Bay? Because inside pointless things are treasure. Let's begin. 10. Number 10 are the Drowning Warriors located in the Kelpthar Forest of Vazgir. And so these are orc warriors that were going to go on this ship and go fight and conquer Stormwind. And they're like, yeah, we're going to unify Azeroth under the Horde banner. It's going to be for the Horde warriors. And then they go and they get attacked by this big squid monster and it destroys the boat. And it sinks, and a bunch of them are drowning. However, there is a quest where you can rescue some of them, but you can only rescue 6. So all of the other drowning warriors are just perpetually drowning. And to me, that's the sad part. Like, imagine your entire existence in World of Warcraft is just drowning, right? And occasionally, you might get saved. But even then, you respawn and you're drowning again. Like, everybody always talks about Gammon being like, oh man, he gets killed all the time. That must suck to be Gammon. But like, at least he has moments of being alive and not feeling pain. You know what I mean? Like, these dudes are just constantly drowning. And so even though they don't have an inherently sad backstory, I would say that their current situation they're in is pretty sad. And so that's why the Drowning Warriors are number 10. 9. Number 9 is Rude Show. And Rude Show is the Pandaren founder, owner, and innkeeper of the Wild's Edge Inn located at Zoo's Watch in the Krasarong Wilds. And I actually learned from the WoW wiki that the internal name for Zoo's Watch is Sad Panda Town. And there's actually quite a few sad pandas in this panda town. So you have Sunny, who's just really depressed because it's raining, which, you know, it's kind of funny because her name's Sunny. And then there's Yoon, who's working on his boat, and he's just like, what's the point of any of this? There's no point to any of this. But apparently everybody's sad in this town because of the Shaw of Despair. And so this big quest happens and you exercise the Shaw of Despair energy from the town, and everybody goes back to being happy and normal, except for Rude Show. And you can tell that because he has some quotes like, what outbreak? I'm always like this. I never should have opened this in. It's just depressing here. Do you have to stay here? No, it's just you. I bet you aren't even going to buy anything, just like all the others. Just leave your money in the coffer. Although I don't think I want to buy anything he's selling, especially not any consumables, because he's sitting next to a big slab of raw meat. There's food spilled all over the floor. There's furniture and pictures and doors just laying on the ground. Like, I don't think I trust the cleanliness and the food safety of this place. And so this guy wasn't made depressed by the Shaw of Despair. He was already depressed. And so that's kind of sad, actually. And so that's why Rude Show is number 9. 8. Number 8 is Gory, and Gory is an abomination found at the Writhing Haunt in the Western Plaguelands. And so according to the WoW wiki, Gory makes his first appearance as a friendly abomination to the Alliance, and it's believed that Gory was sent with the Forsaken Outriders to wreak havoc, but his intentions were different. When the humans saw him, they charged in to fight him, and they expected him to fight back, but Gory didn't even care about them. And that's because Gory didn't want to be a fighter. Gory wanted to be a farmer. And so one of the human farmers here is like, yo, can you go train on this abomination so we know how to fight abominations? And so you go talk to Gory and you're like, hey, can you help me and my friends with some combat practice? And he's like, you want to fight? All right, Gory, fight. And then afterwards, he's like, Gory, give up. You farmers fight more good. But then the farmers that he trained up go out and they start fighting enemy abominations. And then the Forsaken are fighting back. And pretty much they're all just fighting each other. And it kind of gives Gory PTSD. And he just wanted to be out here on the farm having a good time. And he essentially helped them become a weapon, which is what he's hated. And so after the Alliance flees to Chillwind Camp, Gory becomes hostile to both factions. And it's really just sad. Like, he just wanted to be out here in the sun, being a farmer, having a great time, but he's essentially just used as a weapon or a practice weapon. And so that's why Gory is number 8. 7. Number 7 is Jeremiah Payson, and Jeremiah Payson is the Forsaken cockroach vendor that was located in the trade quarter in the Undercity. And Jeremiah's real name is Jeremiah Fellstone, and he became one of the victims of the Scourge and was raised into undeath. And then, in order to forget his former self, he changed his last name from Fellstone to Payson and became known as the cockroach vendor. And so in the Western Plaguelands, you actually talk to the ghost of his sister Janice, and she wants you to bring him a package, and she sends him a bunch of personal things as well as the deed to Fellstone Farm. Jeremiah declines to reclaim the farm and instead tells you to bring the deed back to her and find the other half from her husband, who's a ghoul that you have to kill, and it helps to put her soul to rest. Then we actually learn in the book Before the Storm that he had 3 nephews living with him in the Undercity, James, John, and Jacob Fellstone, and they actually leave him and go try to live with their living family members and are killed in the Arathi Highlands and then buried there by Anduin, which I actually mentioned last week in Pointless Top 10 Graveyards. birds at the gathering graves. And so Jeremiah lost his own life, and then he lost the lives of everybody that he loved, and he really just has his cockroaches. And so that's why Jeremiah Payson is number 7. 6. Number 6 is Ahab Wheathoof, and Ahab Wheathoof is a Tarn quest giver located in Bloodhoof Village in Mulgore. And Ahab has lost his dog Kyle, and you have to go get his dog Kyle the Frenzied and bring him back by feeding him some tender strider meat and returning him to Ahab Wheathoof. And that's not really the sad part of this NPC. The sad part is that the voice and design behind him is from a Make-A-Wish kid that went to Blizzard headquarters, and Ezra Chatterton got to design the NPC, the quest, and even voice Ahab Wheathoof. And Ahab actually cannot be attacked by either the Horde or the Alliance. And so even though Ezra did pass away a year after all of this happened back in 2007, he does get to live on in World of Warcraft as Ahab Wheathoof, and that's pretty cool. And so that's why Ahab Wheathoof is number 6. 5. Number 5 is Mankrik, and I feel like I don't have to tell you too much about Mankrik, but Mankrik is an orc located at the crossroads in the Barrens. And so if you play Alliance and never did the Mankrik quest, or you've just never played WoW before, Mankrik was battling some Quillboar with his wife at a small Tarn camp when they get overrun by the Quillboar, and he's just trying to fight them off, and he can't find his wife anymore, and then he just gets knocked out. And he gets woken up by a Tarn druid who's tending to his wounds on the Gold Road. And so he's now standing at the crossroads, and he's like, please, can you just go find some sign of my wife out there? Like, I don't think it's gonna end well, but I still got some hope left, right? And so you head out there, you try to find his wife, and you do find her, and she's dead. And when you go back to tell him that you found her corpse, he just says, I understand. Thank you. And so even though this quest became one of the biggest memes in World of Warcraft, with people just being like, where's Mankrik's wife? Because back in the day, it was actually hard to find quest stuff, because you didn't just have the, little quest marker on the minimap. You had to actually go out there and be like, I don't know where this thing is. And so people would just be like, where's Mankrik's wife? But they asked it so many times that it just became a meme. It doesn't defeat the fact that this is actually a sad quest. Like, this guy was out fighting Quillboars, and they got overrun, and he doesn't know where his wife is. And then you go and find her, and you're like, yeah, she's dead. And he's just like, he's kind of not really in shock, but he's just so depressed that he's just like, I understand, thanks. Like, he gets it, but you can tell it's like eating him up on the inside. And it's pretty sad. And so that's why Mankrik is number 5. 4. Number 4 is Brog, and Brog is an ogre mage located in the goblin town of Mudsprocket in the Dustwallow Marsh. And Brog survived the near slaughter of his clan by the Black Dragon Flight at what is now the Stonemaul Ruins and the Den of Flame. And so he initially fled with the other Stonemaul survivors to Brackenwall Village, but then Mock Murok refuses to take revenge against the Black Dragons, and so he asks you, the adventurer, to take revenge on the Black Dragon Flight. And so when you talk to Brog, he says, Brog glad Mudsprocket goblins have let him stay here, but sometimes he thinks he hears them laughing at him. And then Axel, the Mudsprocket innkeeper goblin, walks down and talks to Brog, and he's like, I thought we talked about this, Brog. You can't stay in this building. Sure, it can house you, but there's no room for anyone else. And he says, you said Brog could stay here. You promised Brog you'd help him regain Stonemaul Clan Mound. Yeah, we said you could stay here, but this building's our headquarters. All of our manuals and blueprints are stored here. But this is only building that fit Brog. Goblins make buildings too small. I'm inclined to say they made ogres too big. I can see I'm not going to convince you to move now, but don't think this is permanent. So even though it is sad that a bunch of these terrible things are happening to Brog, you do actually help him with questing and get some revenge on the Black Dragon Flight. So that cheers him up a bit. So at least unlike many of these other stories, Brog gets to experience a little happiness, and that's why he's number 4. 3. Number 3 is Wenrin Althal, and Wenrin is a quest giver located at Beladar's Bounty in Hallowfall. And Wenrin is a part of the quest The Last Mage because he is the last surviving mage of the Hallowfall Arathi, and he's working on a way to open a portal back to the Arathi Empire, and he needs you, the adventurer, to help him. And so you start helping him by going down to the shore and finding some magical arcane crabs, and then he's like, yo, these crabs are great. We just got to extract the energy out of them. And so you start playing around with all this arcane energy in the lab, and you eventually do start opening up some portals, and you're like, all right, let's go into them. And so you start going into them, and he's just like, yo, this is working. Hey, whoa, there's some crazy stuff over here. But then he's like, do you think Larky's still around back home? That's my cat. And then he's like, meet me back at the lab. We're gonna complete this spell and get home to the Empire. And so you go check on him, and he's dead. He dies. Like, what? I actually thought he was a fun little character and he wants to go meet his cat, and then boom, you port back and he's assassinated. And so to me, this quest is just like so many layers of sadness because, you know, you meet this new character, you think he's going to be part of the story, he's going to go meet his cat, we're opening these portals, we're going to go see the old Arathi Empire and stuff, and then boom, it's all over, he's dead. It sucks. And so that's why Wenren Althal, the last mage, is number 3. Number 2 is Korgrin, and Korgrin was an earthen that was the caretaker of the Morning Rise at the Isle of Dorn. And this was probably one of the saddest quests in the War Within. I know everybody was talking about it, but he knows his time is coming to an end, and he wants everything to be in order. And so he wants you to help Urtago become the next caretaker of the Morning Rise. But when you talk to Urtago, she tells you that Korgrin still calls himself the caretaker, even though she's pretty much been the caretaker of the Morning Rise for some time now. And so Korgran actually writes a request that he's left for Urtago that talks about how when he goes into final shutdown, he wants to be taken to the shore, which is where he usually travels when he needs time for himself. And so you help him to forge a lantern, but he keeps forgetting things, and then you meet up with him and Urtago, but he gets confused and doesn't really know who anybody is, and eventually you find him, but he doesn't know where he is or who anyone is, and so you help and lead him to the shore like he requested, and he walks into the sea and his body shuts down, and he's there to this very moment holding his lantern up high. And so this is clearly a quest that's talking about dementia and Alzheimer's and, you know, people getting older and just, you know, it's about life, really. And I think that's why it's hit so many people so hard, especially if you've had any family members or friends go through these types of things. And so I'm actually thankful that they didn't phase him out or something after the quest is complete, and he's still standing there to this very day. And so that's why Korgran is number 2. And number 1 is Lunk, and Lunk is a pacifist ogre involved in quests in the Searing Gorge, and he requests players do peaceful alternatives of what other quest givers have asked them to do. And so when you first talk to Lunk, he's like, Lunk came from the Badlands, other ogres tried to make Lunk fight, Lunk hate fighting, Lunk want to learn, Lunk see machines to the south, machines made of gears. Maybe if you ask nicely, machines will give you some gears, then maybe Lunk can have a gear and learn about machines too. But you do have to kill the machines to get the gears, and so when you bring him to Lunk, he's just like, you didn't kill the machines, right? Right? Why you do that? Why you kill? Lunk tired of all the killing. Lunk quits. And so Lunk then runs away and quits being a quest giver to go and find some real adventures. And so Lunk then randomly shows up to show you the more peaceful way to do these quests, such as riding on the spiders to get their spider venom, which this is probably one of the weirdest looking things I think I've seen in World of Warcraft, an ogre just belly riding on top of a spider in the Searing Gorge. And then instead of killing the dwarves, he's like, hey, you just have to take stuff from them, so why not just fight them until they're tired and then get them to go to sleep, because they're cranky anyway, they don't get enough sleep. And so Lunk does this by sitting on them, and one of the dwarves is like, this is worse than death. And so to me, the reason Lunk is the saddest NPC is because he really doesn't want anybody to get killed or die, and yet everything around him is getting killed. I mean, we're in the World of Warcraft, and so he's just like, I'm going to show you some better ways. And he shows you these crazy ways that actually do work, to be fair. And it just brought me back to the other week where I was in the Onaran Plains for the hunt, and they're like, go kill some happy beavers, just chilling out. And I'm like, I don't want to kill the happy beavers. They're happy. And they're like, oh, you want that mount? Go do it. And I'm like, all right. But either way, I just feel bad for him, and I can relate to him. So that's why Lunk is number 1. Hey everybody, thanks for watching this episode of Pointless Top 10. If you want more Top 10s, go check out Pointless NPCs you should know about, because you should probably know about them, or you could check out NPCs you forgot about, because maybe you forgot about. Also, consider supporting the channel over on patreon.com/wowcrendor, or by becoming a channel member. Okay? Okay. See you.